I'm delighted to say that the sun is shining on us in the south of England as we bring you the second special episode of history's greatest aircraft from the Farnborough International Air Show. Oklahoma have brought together a really diverse range of companies who share the stand space with them. And whilst we've repeatedly said that Oklahoma doesn't produce aircraft, you don't put in metal and cables at one end and get an aircraft out the other. You do get an awful lot of the components that go into those aircraft churning out of Oklahoma. They've got a system that's called step funding that has been really important, that the Chamber of Commerce have put in to enable companies to make that next jump, to make that step, to make them competitive on the world market. Let me tell you a little bit of a history story. So, way back in the midst of time, in the 1980s, there was a push to see if a man-powered flying device could be developed. So, sort of Leonardo da Vinci kind of style. And some folks came up with something that was called the Gossamer Albatross. You will correct me if it wasn't the Albatross, it might have been the Eagle, but it's the Gossamer Albatross, I'm pretty sure. A giant winged thing that was basically made out of the thinnest materials you could possibly do and covered in a kind of mylar cling film kind of stuff. Actually worked. They had an athlete pedaling in a cycle, turning a big, very lightweight prop, and eventually they managed to fly it across the channel. So that kind of thinking about that super lightweight aircraft then moved on, and there was a group of people who thought, what happens if we take the then emerging concept of solar cells? They weren't new, but solar cells that were that light and very small electrical motors. What if we took that concept and applied it to a very large aircraft, which they did, and it was successful, and it flew for ages, powered by nothing more than sunlight, and obviously they had some onboard batteries. Then they tried to expand the idea and went with, well, what happens if we try to fly it around the world, or what happens if we try to fly it for 24 hours or 48 hours or whatever? Successful, made all the headlines, then went really quiet for quite a long time. What that team actually did was they disappeared off to Oklahoma, where they set up to do some research and development. And now, I wouldn't say they're back because they haven't been away, but this Oklahoma company have come up with something that is really clever. They call it towards perpetual flight. So you've got to think to yourself, perpetual flight. So the aircraft's in the sky forever. The answer is yeah, or until something breaks. Again, you're thinking, why the hell would you want an aircraft to be up there forever? Because you get on an aircraft and you go somewhere, or you take some cargo on an aircraft and you take it somewhere, you put it down and you bring it back. Why would you want an aircraft to fly forever? And the only way that you could have an aircraft fly forever is if you cover the entire aircraft with solar cells and you use obviously some battery support, but you use electrical motors to power it. Why would you want a plane to fly forever? We're going to find out, because we're going to talk to Oklahoma's own Skydweller. I'm going to dive in, I'm going to grab Greg. Greg, are you free for a quick word? And
yes.
Come on in. For our viewers, introduce yourself first.
I'm Barry Matsumori. I'm the President and Chief Operating Officer of Skydweller Aero.
So listen, we've just been talking about the background to this.
Yes.
And we've talked to our audience all the way through from like the Gossamer Albatross that was powered by a human and so on.
Right.
We talked through where you went with the original concept of this. I guess the overarching question is, and we'll talk about technology in a minute because it's fascinating, why would you want a plane to fly effectively forever?
Oh, I think the important point is the plane is a platform that enables all kinds of missions, whether it's military, civil, or commercial. So if you have something in the air, forget about what it is, and it can stay there and look at a place on the ground, and whether it's communications like a very high mobile base station, whether it's surveillance for maritime purposes to see borders, whether it's monitoring for fires, it's that thing in the air that can do that. And oh, by the way, it happens to be an airplane that looks like this,
Yeah.
but it's a platform that enables missions.
You've gone about this quite quietly, haven't you? Because everybody else, I'm not picking on people, but say Lilium, amazing, amazing aircraft, lots of press, lots of PR, billions of investment. Everybody's like, oh, we're flying this. Whereas you've quietly gone, by the way, we've got this aircraft that will fly forever, and people are saying to you, oh, good idea, and you guys are not, no, it's flying, it's real.
Yes.
Tell us about the mission
We're
then.
taking the step of first making sure that it works, that it's doing what we want it to do. And for example, we just made an announcement. We're going to do a round the world flight with our aircraft.
You are going to take us with you, aren't you?
Non-stop, no human, autonomous. That's never been done before.
If you want to see a documentary about a round the world flight with an autonomous aircraft, please click and like below, because we're going to do that. Seriously though, you've got it. It's man capable at the moment.
It can hold a human, but we're getting rid of that cockpit.
Because this is what's interesting. It's the other way up, isn't it? So you see a lot of other new concepts. Whether it's, well, there isn't really anything else like yours, but you see all these other new concepts are like, oh well, we've got a prototype going now. At the moment, that's got a pilot. Eventually, we want to make it autonomous. You're the other way around, aren't you? You're like, we don't really. Sorry. What I'm saying is the other ones are, at the moment, they're autonomous.
Correct.
We're trying to make it man-capable. You don't really want a human in your aircraft.
It's much better.
They're going to get bored and hungry quick, aren't they?
Humans need care and feeding. And if you're going to do an around-the-world flight, if you're going to fly from the west coast of the U.S. to the Pacific, if you're going to fly over the Atlantic, you can't have a human on board.
Who's buying this? Who will be buying this aircraft?
The first customers are going to primarily be military and civil. At some point, the commercial will come in there, but if one can see you're monitoring forest fires, or one is looking at maritime border protection, one is looking at illegal drugs, one is looking at ISR surveilling an area that has conflict. This is the perfect platform because we're up there and we can host whatever payloads. The key differentiator here is that we can hold up to 800 pounds and supply 2,000 watts of power. Nobody else can do that.
I guess it's like, sorry, I'll come back to that in a second. Yes. So I guess it's like having your own local redeployable satellite in a way.
It's a great way to do it because I came from the space world, and you have low Earth orbit and you have geostationary orbit.
Yeah.
The great use of geostationary is it looks at one place on the ground continuously.
Yeah.
But the problem is it's 35,000 kilometers away.
Quite.
So the latency, the delay, the signal-to-noise ratio, the amount of resolution you get on an image is highly decreased. If you're down at 45,000 feet, all of that improves.
And you can redeploy. You can just point it where you want.
What about low Earth orbit? Why can't you go to that part of space?
Yeah.
The problem is orbital mechanics says that when you're at that part of the Earth, the satellite has to move. It cannot stay. And it's
using energy
a lot.
Right.
No, it's only staying in one place for about 4 or 5 minutes.
Oh, really?
So, whereas we can not only be lower, we're not at 500 kilometers or 700 miles.
Yeah.
We're down much, much lower. So the signal improves, we stay in one place, and you get the best of both worlds.
Wow. It's not a small device either, is it? I mean, this isn't something that's sort of, a bit bigger than a PA-28 or whatever. This is a really substantial piece of equipment.
Boeing 747 wingspan.
Wow.
That's the way to look at it. But lightweight.
Also, what I wanted to come back was something interesting you said. The struggle with these aircraft previously was to get enough power to just get the engines running and get it off the ground and keep it in there. What you're saying is you've got surplus power on board to power payloads.
Yes.
That's really
interesting. So not only
interesting.
is it 2,000 watts of continuous power, if there are some devices that need a lot of power instantaneously, so we can provide up to 100,000 watts. Yeah.
So it's been flying out of Stennis
out of
currently?
Stennis, Mississippi.
Wow, it's great.
And the reason is because we're close to the Gulf of Mexico.
Sure.
And right now we don't want to overfly people.
Yeah.
The best way is just to fly over and just immediately get to the Gulf and be in that arena.
How much does it weigh all up, and what does it sort of compare with in terms of weight?
It's about 5,500 pounds.
Wow. So that's
compared. It's
nothing,
a very big glider.
Yeah.
with solar
Yeah.
capability. Yeah,
Wow.
in
That's
simple
amazing.
terms.
Listen, we love you for being from Oklahoma. I think it's a fascinating concept, and we really hope that we can engage with you more and try and follow your journey. I'm really proud of the stuff that you're doing, because this is, no disrespect to everybody else, all really great what people are doing. This is truly, truly innovative thinking. It isn't just taking, well, let's take electricity and sort of try and substitute it for a carbon-powered engine. This is something that does, for me, go all the way back to that sort of Gossamer Albatross. It's taken that spirit of
To me,
pedaling.
what's really important for Oklahoma is we're doing engineering in our Oklahoma office. We're going to continue to do that engineering. And yes, Oklahoma has a lot of business, but to do design engineering, to innovate designs for the plane, innovate software, innovate approaches, that's what really makes engineers get really interested in what they're doing.
And can you say when the plan is to do the global circuit? 'Cause I tell you what I'm going to do.
tuned.